Yeah, it's Piper. I love just watching all of the hand gestures, though. I think he's trying to work out of the box.
Yeah.
He has no
No, I
idea.
think we are online. He can hear. Everybody can hear us. I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah. We should translate Piper.
Yeah, guys, I love Matic and Pole. We can't hear you, bro.
No ears. All eyes, no ears.
All right, we're doing the show without Piper. Piper, you're out.
Share and subscribe, though.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, dude, we got
Now
you.
There we
hear
go.
you.
Hey,
We're back. All right, cool.
we got
Guys.
we got blood. We got crypto blood. I mean, Google don't want to. They don't like crypto blood.
On the show today. So they said he's bringing blood on. He's bringing ammunition for his bearish take. We've got to do something about this. Get him off the screen. So it's okay. It's okay. We've got data to go over, and if you guys stuck around with us, we appreciate you greatly. Not sure what happened there. We had a little flicker of power surge here in El Paso. Brownouts are a thing here, down here in the Mexican border. OC knows all about that. But then all of a sudden, like nothing wanted to work at all. So I don't know. It's weird. But Blood, how you doing, man? I saw you the other night, and you were a little. You were a little
Yeah.
bearish, bro. You were a little bearish. I'm not gonna lie. So I was like, you know what? We got it.
I'm not, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Usually when I'm this way, people want to get on my head, but I was very surprised to see, Army, you were kind of aligning with my view on things. So we'll see, man. We'll talk about it in today's episode, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we definitely align on is the economic data there. So let's go ahead and pull that data up. Let's start looking at that and see what I'm seeing there. Get through some of this news today, and then we're going to bring you back on. We're going to look at these charts, figure out exactly where we could be heading and why everything is moving the way it is. Because right now we are heading towards 50 basis points. I got myself back in size. I don't know why I was so tiny. I was so far away. Let's jump over to the news, guys. Let's take a look at that. So, guys, looking at the news here, we got the crypto bubbles up now. Let's get this back in line. There we go. Yep, perfect. Looking at the crypto fear and greed index this morning, guys, we are currently sitting at about 2.1 trillion. Let's give that a refresh. $2.1 trillion. It is up 0.14%. But look at this volume, down 15.8%. I talked about this the other day that when you see this price coming up, but the volume is not moving with it, it means one of two things. Either one side is exhausted completely, which I don't think the bears are completely exhausted yet, or it means that we have just completely lost, it's a weak pump. And so there's no volume. We're not going to keep that level. It's going to dump on us. That's what we're seeing right there. Fear and greed sitting at 32, still in fear right now. Moving over to the crypto bubbles, you can see here on the daily, nice little mix. We got like ICP's down 2.8, Fetch is down 5.1, Sui's down 2.3. But then you got things like Pole up 15.2% today. That means that old Tradefly has got to change his name from Captain Jack Maddock to Captain Pole. He is now a stripper in Vegas. You can see him every Friday and Saturday night at the Caesar. So jumping down here to see what we're seeing. Bitcoin sitting about 57,800 right now. That is a key level that we have got to hold. So we're going to be watching what happens with that 57,008. We're going to look at those levels too and see what what might be sitting below us or where we could be heading if we do go to the upside this weekend. BNB sitting at about 549. Ethereum's at 2350. Solana's at 132 after catching that key level of support that TradeFly is always talking about. XRP sitting at about 56 cents, down about 0.13. Do you see there's a lot of green? Not Solana and XRP. There, well, XRP is trying to neutral out now. Tron is sitting at number 10. Toncoin holding number 9, and Cardano sadly sitting at that snake eyes right there, watching that top 10 that it used to be in. Chainlink's moved up one position to number 14, up 3.4% on the daily. Looking pretty good there on Chainlink. So may have to put my Chainlink hat on. And then Near Protocol, guys, slipping down to number 20, losing its position to Litecoin. So let's jump over here and take a look at the liquidations, guys. See what we're seeing here. Past 24 hours, 28,131 traders were liquidated. Total liquidations came in at 65.4 million. Largest single liquidation order happened on Binance. It was Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Somebody trying to do a little swap action there and got wrecked for 3.7 million. Let's jump over here and take a look at the import and export prices this morning, guys. Big miss on export. Point down negative 0.7%. Was expected to be 0.1%, 0.2%. Getting absolutely just pummeled there at 0.7. Let's jump in here and see what the data is telling us. Export prices in U.S. fell by 0.7% month over month, exceeding that market expectation of 0.1 and following a downwardly revised 0.5 increase in July. So yeah, there's another revision. They revised it, and it was even worse than what they had said originally. So we see that over and over. TradeFly was just talking about that last night on the nightcap. So agriculture export prices decreased by 2%, largely driven by a 9.8% plunge in soybean prices, declines in corn, wheat, fruit prices also contributing to that fall. Non-agricultural export prices slipped 0.6%. What else was there? Capital goods, materials, automotive vehicles, and non-agricultural foods. They were the offset increases that they got. So annually, export prices fell 0.7, and they downwardly revised 1.2% from last month. So that's not good. That's not good. And then, of course, that's the export. Look at these imports. Check those out. And that dropped by 0.3% month over month, following a 0.1% increase in the previous month and surpassing those market expectations. It was the ones that went up, went down, primarily led by a 3% tumble in fuel import prices. Petroleum prices declined by 3.2%. Natural gas prices decreased by 3.7%. Cost of non-fuel imports, though, experienced a 0.1% decrease. Lower prices in August for non-fuel industrial supplies, consumer goods, foods, feeds, stuff like that. So mixed data this morning. A lot of the reason that we're seeing mixed messages on that bullet there, on the bubbles, I mean. And then let's jump over here to X marks the spot, because I want to talk about a couple of things over here. One was this one right here. This little Kabisi letter. He says something. Can you open for me? Thanks. There we go. He said something does not add up here. Super core inflation rose by 4.5% year over year in August and is now double the levels that were seen before 2020. We get down here, you can see where the 2020 window is at. It is back over in here, right? Since then, it's just gone up. We had a big pump up here in late 2022, early 2023, and then dumps down, and now we're coming back up again. So super core inflation rose 4.5% year over year in August, now double the levels before 2020. Super core inflation is a key metric followed by the Fed, which is calculated as core services less the housing inflation, right? So take that out. That is what's left. That's the core services. And then that is the main piece that goes into super core inflation. It's now been above the Fed's 2% target for 3.5 years and has not shown any signs of slowing. So even as headline CPI is down to a 3-year low, meanwhile, the Fed is going to cut rates for the first time since 2020 next week. Premature rate cuts could trigger a resurgence of inflation and worsen the affordability. However, a lack of cuts could cause unemployment to rise further, which is already near 3-year highs. Is the Fed in a lose-lose situation? Let's jump back over here, talk about that data, because when you look at those reports and what that's saying there, this could be very, very problematic for Jerome Powell coming up next week. And we're already seeing signs that next week we're going to have 50 basis points, not 25. Just to show where I'm getting that data from, because I did not show it there. Let me go here. Let's do that. And then I'll just jump over to the chart real fast and show it this way. Right there, 47% now that we get 50 basis points. This was 15% yesterday. This morning, a lot to change, 53 for 25 basis points, 47% chance of that we get 50 basis points. So we already know that 50 basis points is not going to settle well on the investing market. They're going to go, oh, this is neat, especially after so much talk about 25. They're like, oh, soft landing, we're good. And then all of a sudden, this plane just takes a deep dive. That's going to cause investor scare for sure. Blood, I'd love to know your thought, and then we'll go around the table here. What are we looking at here? And what the hell is going on? And what can Jerome Powell even do about it at this?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And you're right. That's exactly the case. So Wall Street either is one or two things. Like Wall Street is really having a temper tantrum, or remember those days? Remember that term? They're having one of those, and they're kind of wanting to force the Fed to cheapen rates or cheapen dollars
for the record, Blood.
Bit more.
For the record, temper tantrums still occur. They happen on college campuses now.
There you go. There you go. So I think that's either the case. They're kind of pushing the Feds to do it so that they can keep this money train going. But ultimately, as we all know, when interest rates are cut 100% of the time, and I talked about this on the stream that you were on, Army Piper, 100% of the time, that marks the end of a cycle. Whether it's the next day, 2 weeks, a month, that marks the end of the cycle. So a 50 basis point move means we're in worse shape, and we already know we are, but we're in worse shape than the Fed is leading on. So the Fed always drives in the rearview mirror, and we know that. So their policy is always going to be lagged and behind, and they're behind. They're definitely behind.
Yeah, for sure. Tradefly, what's your thoughts on this? 50 basis points look like that's being cooked in now. Are the markets prepared for that? Is the economy prepared for that? Let your thoughts, and then OC be prepared to follow up with that, and then we'll come over and check out a couple of articles.
Yeah, we had a kind of a similar conversation yesterday, and I've talked about Powell and what his track record is. His track record is a 0.25 or a 25 BPS, right? So that's his track record. That's what we have. That's tangible that we can hold on to. I think 50 for him is a stretch. I think Blood hit it, right? He said, hey, if it is a 50, then we got bigger issues, because that's them essentially admitting that, yeah, we got something going on and we got to make a more drastic correction. Okay. And that it could be possible, but I don't see why 50 would be baked in necessarily based on the track record. And the other thing that I would hang my hat on is that why do a 50 when you can do a 25 leading in, right? You don't want to make a big drastic, and when I say leading into a presidential election, you don't want to show that there's weakness or something going on in the economy, because look how they hide the numbers. Look how they hide the data. Here we got another revision. All right. So another revision to the negative. Like you said, we talked about that yesterday on the nightcap, and they slide it in. And if you guys haven't noticed, when they slide in these revisions, it has a very minimal impact on the market when those numbers come through, which is very interesting, right? Like, that's the one we should be waiting for, not the first number that we get. We should be waiting for the revision, and then that's when we have that reaction with the money, right? So that's kind of my thoughts, but I think 2.5 for me is what I'm going to hang my hat on, just based on what Powell's MO is. And then the other thing I'm thinking is, if they see a trend where this election is going to a certain orange man, I think they're going to leave him a poop sandwich, personally. So they're just going to let it go. And I told you guys, I told you this guy, like, he's the issue, right? And now he's got to clean it up, and it's gonna take time. So that's kind of that's what I'm thinking.
We'll see. You got 25, 50. Where are you at? Where's your mind at on this?
I'm going to go more like trade flight, 25 basis points. If we get 50, I think we're gonna get a little bit of a reaction of the markets, but I don't think it's gonna be so big of a deal because I think it's already factored into whatever we have seen, right? Of course, we're gonna see the market move, and not in a pretty way, but I still believe the same thing that trade flight mentions. Also, I mean, let me talk about the hegemony or hegemony about the United States in the world, right? And at this point, I've talked about this one. Red team versus blue team are fighting a lot, and I don't think the states needs to lower its guard right now. And by pushing itself into a possible recession or a downward spiral, that would not be cool. Although we should never underestimate who's right now on the office, right? I mean, I just heard someone in the office saying, "Vote me, and I'll fix everything that's wrong." Says the person already in the office, right?
Already here.
So
Round of applause.
I don't know.
Round of applause to the Kabuki Theater. Ness.
Look, the guy that lives in Mexico gets it. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Shout out to
Absolutely.
Retro Mike Tech with the super chat. He said, "Arby Piper Internet Fund." Hey, I got good internet. I just got bad I got bad power grid, man. My power grid in El Paso is not the greatest. I'll just put that out there. And it's
It
not a
runs
Texas
on
power
Mexican
grid.
pesos.
Well, it's not a Texas power grid. El Paso is on the New Mexico power grid. We already know they broke. So, just saying. They
Yeah,
are.
that
I'm not
the
lying.
Tesla was the
That's right.
battery backup or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You need
Plug that in
man.
here. Be good to go. Be good to
When
go.
you're on the show, you run off that.
I appreciate it. So I just want to point out that Wall Street Journal actually talked about this 50 basis point versus 100 or what versus 100, 25 basis point versus 50 basis point. And when we jump over there and take a look at what that article says, investors expect the Federal Reserve to enact its first rate cuts of the interest rate in the cycle next week. Yep. But they aren't quite sure if it will kick things off with a big move. Most likely outcome is seen as the initial cut being 25 basis points. So there you go, TradeFly. Or 25 basis, or to benchmark rates from the current range of 5.25 to 5.5. But a journal article on Thursday laid out Fed's dilemma, helping reinvigorate bets on the 50 basis points. And that dilemma is inflation coming back? Or are we going to hurt? Like, which one do we want? Do we want inflation to rear its ugly head, or do we want higher unemployment? And sadly, when it comes to the Federal Reserve, they care more about higher inflation than they do about job losses. So there is where we are seeing that move to 50 basis points. With two more policy meetings left this year, Fed is likely as seen as keep easing policy into the next year, right? So what they're looking at right now, they meet for 2 days at a time. Dates that are coming up September 18th next week. Futures price show 55 to 45 split, which I just showed you. It's actually 47 now. So 47 to 53% split between 25 basis point and 50 basis points. November 7th, because there's not an October meeting, guys. So if they're going to do 100 basis points, that means they got to do either a 50 somewhere or they have to do an unscheduled rate cut in October. November 7th, after this meeting, most likely outcome is seen as a range between 4.5 to 4.75. And then the scenarios where rates are either 25 basis points lower or higher are also seen as plausible. So the most likely rate after the meeting in December 28th or December 18th is between 4 to 4.25%, but that outcome, but a range of outcomes is seen as possible because the further you are out, it's just like shooting a weapon, right? If you're 10 meters, much easier target to hit than 300 meters. And you got that rise and fall there. I'm just saying. Market pricing suggests the cuts will keep coming next year with rates reaching about 3% by mid 2025. So even the Wall Street Journal is really saying that, look, it could go any direction right now. And, that FOMC, let me just give it a refresh, see what's going on here as the morning goes on. I want to see if it changes. Yeah, it's 47% chance right now of 50 basis points that they're cooking in. And I really do think that when Jerome Powell looks at the data, he's going to go, it is much easier to incentivize people back into working than it is to fight inflation. Inflation is ugly and hard to fight. So they can fight that inflation to get it down and then start the cycle all over again by pumping money into the liquidity of the economy, getting those companies to put jobs back to work because now there's demand, which, by the way, causes another cycle of inflation. So I really see that as their only choice at this point, because it's much easier to reinvigorate the employment market than it is to cut down inflation. And if they lose their hands on that slippery sucker, it's going to be gone again. Blood. Final thoughts on that, and then let's get into the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted about if they're going to do 25 or 50. If I had to bet, I would say 25, even though they're inching towards the 50. I still think that's just Wall Street trying to, they're having a temper tantrum. So they're just trying to get Jerome Powell to move a little bit quicker. But I think he's going to do the 25 basis points next week, and we'll just go from there.
Who said that there was 100 basis points? Was that just a rumor mill, or did that come out?
I didn't hear about
read
that
it.
one.
Citibank said
Citibank. That's who it was. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if it was cumulative or if it was for the next cut.
But
I mean, we all know that's completely unrealistic.
Right. But then there was also a post from Kabisi Letter that he said that the markets are now cooking in 100 basis points by the end of this year for rate cuts, which would be an emergency cut in November.
Yeah, don't forget about the emergent. Right. So that's the thing. We can't forget about emergency cuts. They can happen anytime, anywhere.
Yep.
So that's why I think he's going to go ahead with 25 next week. And then, if he needs to have an emergency meeting, he'll do that.
Absolutely. Let's jump over here.
Up front, right?
Or you go 50 up front and you rip the Band-Aid off, which is what a lot of economists think that they should be doing. Just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. So let's jump over here. I want to take a look at what's really moving. You guys want to know what's moving? Here's what's moving right now. FD White said 25, 50, 50 is what he thinks that they should be doing, or what they're going to do. Guys, check this out. Gold. Oh, hit it, Treyfly.
I love gold.
Oh, you know it. We are getting a little wick down here, but guys, it just hit here as high as 25.83. As I've told you this week, we are heading for 26.40. The reason for that is we're getting a lot of support off our dynamic reactor and quantum reactor. You can see all the playback here on my phase 3 golden pocket. My phase 2 golden pocket played out perfectly also. The sequencing's right. This might take a while. It's not going to be a straight line. Of course, with that pump that we've had recently, it could be. But yeah, we're heading to 26.40. Gold is the flight to safety that is going on right now in the investment space. So let's jump over and check out Bitcoin now. See what's going on there. Bitcoin is getting rejected. We called this yesterday on the Trade Academy, guys. We said, look, we are hitting the quantum reactor here from Chart Prime's indicators, and this has been a very hard area, looking at 4-hour candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, how many times can you hit this thing and still get rejected? How about one more? And that's where we entered into that trade. Right now, we are trying to hold the dynamic reactor, but I do think that with that quick rejection that we're getting there, it's selling pressure, plus all of the continuation here of divergences, bearish divergences that we're getting. And then lastly, money flow does look like we're about to start to flip reversal here. Go to that daily, and we'll take a look on this. Open that up. Thank you very much. You can see that money flow is ugly on the daily, guys. So not looking too good. I think that we're getting ready to get another rejection down here. Even if we get a little upside, as I said back in August, any upside move that we get here, because even on the daily, if we get up here and let's say we reject off this dynamic reactor, which is very likely, that's only about 60,600. And that would still be what? a lower high and a lower low that we could possibly be running towards after that. We've talked about this here since August 1st, that anything that we see August or September to the upside move, in my opinion, was going to be a sucker's rally and don't get trapped. And I think that's exactly what we're setting up right now, especially with that money flow continuing to dump out of Bitcoin right now. Blood, what are you seeing on your charts? Let's get over to there, and then we'll come back around to TradeFly, see what that heat map is telling us, and get a final word from OC, and then we'll start looking at what altcoins we're watching, and if we're longing or shorting them, because sometimes you get those little ones. Let's go over and check out Blood's charts and see what you got there, bro.
All right. So what I want to first show you guys is the kind of charted the total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And as you can see here, we are trying to get back above this trend line right now. These two are pretty irrelevant. They're too steep. So I'm just going to get rid of those. But that's the trend line that we're attempting to get back above. And we're doing that right now. But again, you're running into resistance here at 570, $570 billion market cap total for all those pairs. We're running into resistance there. So we'll see. We should know today in the next couple of hours whether or not we're going to roll over or extend higher. Now, the issue is, and I talked about this on my stream, Piper, it's September. And in September, we all know it's the worst month for Bitcoin. So what did I do? I went ahead and got the pivot point for Bitcoin in September. So we opened around, 58,200 roughly is the pivot point for the open for Bitcoin in September. And so we're going to play around this area. I think if we get higher than this, even let's say we get above this region, which I don't see us getting above 60K. I know you talked about 60K being an area of resistance as well. But if we get up here, statistically, I'm going to bet on a short and taking that back below the pivot point, which would help us close in a negative for the end of September. So I think we're going to close below this pivot point by the end of September to give us yet another red September for Bitcoin. We've only had like 3 positive months, Septembers in Bitcoin's existence. So I'm banking on a pass pattern, and we'll see how it plays out. But that's what I'm saying, man. Anything above this pivot point, I would be shorting.
Awesome. Let's go ahead. TradeFly. Yeah, and I would be short too. I am short actually right now. I've been shorting this whole time. TradeFly, let's check out your chart and see what you got there. And then shout out to Martin Dutch. Hey, bro, I'm going to be sending you that friend request. Accepted that friend request. I just saw it here. Sorry about that, man. Let's get into your charts, Trade.
Right on. I got the liquidation heat map on the 3-day, so you guys can see the hot spot on the map. It's up at about 58,650. So again, we were talking about liquidity at about 58.5. We thought that was an area that was going to get cleared out, and it did. But now you are starting to build up some liquidity just over where we've had our recent local high, we'll say. Okay, so really where we have resistance, and so that's sitting there, but what I'm looking at is like the trend. Okay. So we're going like straight horizontal. It's pretty boring right now. It's been that way, I think, for a couple of days at this point. And we talked a little bit about that. We've kind of been talking about it quite a bit on the show because we haven't really had much else to talk about. But looking at the trend, right? That's one of the big things that I always tie into this. We've kind of lost this. So we had an up and right trend that was very, I won't say very distinct, but enough for us to say, hey, this liquidity was in danger. And that's what it did. But now it's leveled out. So it's showing me that we're losing strength. Unfortunately, against the narrative that I've been kind of going with right now, it's showing you that it's kind of consolidating in this area. So coming over the chart, looking at that, Piper has given you a couple key areas. I'm going to start on the daily. And so if we're looking at that, the liquidity that we just talked about here at about 58.6, 58.750, it's in play in my mind if you're on the daily, right? It's not till you go down to the 4-hour that you start seeing a completely different picture. So on the daily, where I'm seeing, you got a bunch of lines in here, but look, it's a lot of confluence is what I see. And the reason that I have this fib up is because I want you to see the confluence with that, and I'll take it off here in a second. But you got a horizontal level of resistance. You have the dynamic reactor. you have the top side of this channel here, right? You got resistance, 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 all in one key area. So this is kind of saying to me, even if we do make a move up, this is your area that you're really, really going to struggle with. And we're already struggling. We're already struggling, at a lower number, but I still think this is within reach. Personally, that's my own opinion there. But let's go ahead and go to, yeah, let's go to the 4-hour chart here and see what Piper's talking about, right? So looking at this on the 4-hour, right, now you have a little bit of a different story. There's a little bit of conflicting data here too as well, by the way. So he has a quantum reactor up, which is on the top side of this price action. It's essentially holding down this price action from breaking through. But look, man, we're kind of taking these little incremental steps up. At this point now, we had a broadening wedge, right? We got a broadening wedge, and that's done by Chart Prime that does it on the charts for us, which is dope. It tells us, hey, we've had a breakout or a pattern break, and it's giving us a smart target right up by this area of resistance. So for me, like, I still think that it's in play. I'm not taking it out of the equation. All right. I know there's some things that are, going to be a little prohibitive, especially you have the 200 SMA right there at about 59. There's a lot of things kind of in the way of us making this move up and right. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't make it. But if you're looking at the trend, and this is one of the things that I like to look at all the time, is when I see price action, like the bottom part of this price action working up like this, that's showing me that we have an opportunity. Okay. That's what I'll leave it at. And so we were dealing with resistance right here. And now we're trying to get on the top side of that resistance. We're trying to flip resistance into support right now. It's just we have a couple factors on top of us that are keeping us really, really tight, right? We're getting a squeeze going on. So we got to break out. Which way are we going to break out? Now, I'll be honest, like a lot of times when I see this on a chart and you see that the pressure, the price action is kind of working its way up into this move, that's when I start using my analogy of the tree. When I say, hey, you keep hitting the tree, you keep, chopping at it, the thing's going to fall down. That's how I'm kind of feeling about the price action right now. I'm taking all the other factors out. I'm saying, hey, quantum reactor, the 200-day SMA, those are really big things to think about here. I think if we get this move that it breaks through this area, it's going to be a quick move up to 60. I think it'll be a very quick move up to 60.
Yeah, I think we're going to go up there. I think we're going to go into that range again and test 60 again. But ultimately, by the end of September, we're going to close below $58,000 Bitcoin, below that pivot point, which will give us a negative close for September.
I don't think you're wrong. And this is kind of what I'm feeling right now, is that we go up and test that area almost like a fake out. We go up, we test that 60K area. You still have this descending RSI, the prime oscillator. And so you get that move up and everybody's like, oh, here we go. And then you get that rejection and we ultimately come back down to retest this channel right here. And now the top side of this falling wedge. So there's a lot of things that are lining up, or broadening wedge, sorry. But this also too, remember, this is actually a bullish pattern too. Like if you're looking at this is a bullish pattern. So there's a lot of conflicting data here on the charts, but it's just a gut. It's a gut feeling that we come up, we test, we come down, and then that's where we kind of figure out what's going to happen next. And I think it's going to be a lot of the data. And the thing that I've been noticing is that every time we get a bullish move for crypto or for Bitcoin, all of a sudden then the data comes out. So like what happens when we go up, we test 60K, and then it's like 50 basis points comes out. I bet it's going to pull back. And that's right. I don't know. That's my gut
set
feeling.
Up for a pullback.
Yeah. And this is strictly speculation.
It's that sucker's rally that I talked about. Any pump up that we get, it's just trapping more and more people, and that number of people that are in profit on their wallets, that's going to look pretty ugly come October if these little pumps like this keep happening, because you're going to get people trapped in there that are like, oh, I'm back in 100%. I got all this. And then they're going to be in the negative. And then what are they going to do? They're going to do like most retail does. Sadly, they're going to sell because they're scared. And they're in, out of profit, right? Like they're in the negative. So they're going to sell it for lower than what they bought. And they're going to keep doing that cycle over and over again. That's what comes with all of this bad economy, is that reaction.
Before you pass it over to OC, I just want to show my screen really quickly. Cause of
course,
I
gotcha.
what I talked about was more of a macro situation, but from blood analytics, from my actual trading system, I'm actually long and have been long for the last day or so with ADA, BNB, Doge, and ETH. I am short Solana, but for the most part, I am long. And if you see this this Cardano play right here, we went long maybe an hour ago. An hour ago, I went long, flip flop back and forth, but I'm now long again on ADA. We closed the long on Link. I think we closed that this morning, early this morning. We closed the Link trade, and also if I go over to my other pairs, we have, where's Ethereum? Ethereum, I'm long, still long on this trade here. But it's been a lot of back and forth, but I am predominantly long at this point, even though my own gut manual, just technical analysis is telling me that this is a short-lived rally. We are back above that trend line that I talked about initially, Piper, that we needed to see if we would get a test above. And sure enough, we did break above that area where we got stuck 3 times in a row. If you see here, 1, 2, 3, and then we checked it here. So I think we might see a move higher, though it will be a short-lived rally, maybe up to 60K, like TradeFly said, maybe even a little bit pushing into 60K to really get a lot of people in there and wipe them out. So ultimately, we're going to, in my opinion, close below the pivot point by the end of September. I hate to sound like a broken record there.
Oh yeah, well, I actually have an entry for a short at $60,850. So yeah, I do think that we do get up there, but then that's a rejection point for me. But let's go ahead and jump over to OC's charts, and then I want to come back and show you what I feel has to happen for Bitcoin to flip back to bullish, and we're not even close to it right now. So let's jump over to OC's chart. We'll come back and check that out. Stick around for.
Absolutely. I don't know. I'm just in the 1 minute chart, and it seems like we're gonna get to 90,000K. I don't know. That's my feeling. Just kidding.
Nice.
I just wanted to give a little laugh here. There you go. No, but I'm in total synchrony with you guys, right? I don't want. Come on, my brain right now it's telling me, you know what? My actual analysis is exactly the same as you guys. In fact, I'm just looking at a video that I made here for the actual this week, for the end of this week. I might find it in a little bit and then push it upwards. But the thing is that we've been talking about this area here, right? And also I was saying that my brain is pushing into that theory where it says when everybody's in synchrony, well, you need to be the guy that breaks that synchrony. That is just experimental. That's just experimental willingness, right? Because I mean, you just need to go against what everybody does just to prove that thesis, right? So let me just show you first what I've been following along. So I know I show this chart till death. I mean, you might already be sick of it, but remember we were talking about this spring, right? And also I was saying, well, because of the V-shaped recovery that we have seen on Bitcoin, how awful it was and how fast it was and how depth it had. Well, the spring, I don't think that in this case or in that case will be lower than the actual first spring, right? So let me just get rid of the 1 minute. That was a joke, of course, right? Here we go. So we have the V-shaped recovery and the spring. I was calculating right here with Alex on Crypto. It actually went all the way back down into that target, right? If we take a look at here after the spring, we usually break back into the main range, and actually right here, let me zoom in for you guys. We're looking for this retracement. The retracement that is in between the main chart and bounces off of it, so we can go find the top of the main chart. That is Wyckoff basics, right? So let's see what we were talking about. Remember, I drew this range. We had the V-shaped recovery. We had what I was expecting the dynamic reactor to do, and then what happened right here? Clear as day, right? So did you guys long that? I did, and I'm out of that long. Let me show you something that I'm doing right now, and I'm actually right now thinking on closing it. I was expecting a little bit of a farther move right here back at these areas for a more prolonged retrace. So this is my ongoing trade. Let me see if I can have it right. There we go. I'm on profits. I'm going to be closing it. And why is that? That is because I had a bullish bearish divergence. And you may say, hey, OZ, well, then a bearish divergence, isn't it mentioning that it's going down? Yes, sort of, right? Let me show you what usually we are used to see on this bearish divergence. Let me go back in here. Usually when I see that bearish divergence, I see previous bearish divergence and a big divergence, and then we had that reaction, right? Multiple divergence, just single one divergence, but look at that, there was a small pullback, right? So one single itty bitty divergence, we did not fall back into the volume, right? The bottom is seen. Well, the top, it seems like it already was in here, and we are decreasing on probabilistic areas of top, right? So what does that mean? That we can get back at it just like we did in here, right? Which means farther move to the upside, right? And maybe a double or triple divergence that we can have in here. So because of the time has gone by and I don't see results of these diversions, I'm going to call that short and then aim to my next big resistance area right here, 60K 200. That also pairs very nicely with this area right here and in between this other area. And if I start throwing up my indicators, look at where I do have my confluence. I have a very negative delta, 89% bearish liquidity area, along with a order block in here. So naturally, I'm gonna aim between them both. And what is between them both? Look at that, quantum bands. So that's what I'm going to be looking at for this upcoming rally, and then shorted runs again in here. So I'm ready to close that short. In fact, when we just change the screen, I'm going to do it live. Take whatever is there for me to take. It's not much, a couple of dollars, and then just replan with whatever needs to happen, right? By the way, if I'm wrong and this one goes back down, I'm not going to be pounding my chest, because if I look at this, look at how many areas of support I have. So that means I can go back into a long here or long back in here, right? So just wanted to give you guys that little heads up, and throwing it back to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. So the one thing that I think that needs to happen, that is, and I keep screaming this out loud. I did it last night on the chat for the crypto nightcap. I kept talking about it. And yeah, we'll get to Chainlink. Shout out to Alex O Crypto in the house, by the way. Dropped a $5 super chat. Let me see what he said here. Let me go find it again. He dropped a $5 super chat and he said, "Profits, not profits. ABC, ABC, baby.
Always
as easy
be
as 1, 2,
closing.
3." That's right.
Always be closing.
All right, so here's the one thing that I think that we need to do, and let's take a look at this chart. This chart here, I've already talked about this before, so I won't drill in on it too much, guys. But I do also have a theory at the end of this that I'm going to show you that is pretty interesting. So this is going from tops to bottoms of each cycle, and then it measures off fibs, and you can see the 786. Once we break it, we go to the 1, go to the 1.618. Right, every cycle, another halving here. Break through the 786, bounce off the 1 there, straight up to it though, went straight to it. And then we get up to the 168, another, little fight range of resistance up to the top, right? This time here, we only got to the 168. It is what it is, right? We did not get that $100,000 Bitcoin at all. So, but once we got past the halving, straight to the 786, straight to the 1, straight to the 168. This cycle did not happen. We got stuck on the 1 here. Now, here's where I think we get into the thing that I want to see happen before I flip bullish. And once this does, guys, then, everything else is off. We can go into it. I want to pull this up and show you the moving averages. And let's just take a look at the 200-day simple moving average. This is telling us everything we need to know about this cycle right now. If we look at the first cycle, it was our support all the way through the bull run. Did not go below it, okay? Got to our top there. Then once we break beneath it, it's resistance, and down we go, right? Get to the next cycle here. It is our support all the way up through the bull run, right? Once we get to our top, we pull back below it, and then it is our resistance. get to this bull cycle here. We actually broke above it right before the halving, and it was our support all the way up until where the price cycle crossed. A lot of people talk about this was actually the market top, and that this here was just an over-exaggerated euphoria, dead cat bounce rally, right? It just got up there, clipped just above it on liquidity, and then it played out again underneath as resistance, just like we did here. But if we're going to do this, where we get above it for another rally just a little bit higher, man, let's look at this current cycle and let's just zoom in here on this and see what happened. Our first test of the 200 resulted in us breaking underneath it, and we just retested it here about 3 weeks ago for the resistance. And we had a good month of resistance here from it. We've got to get back above this 200-day simple moving average if we are going to see anything play out in the realm of bullishness, in my opinion. And getting above that is what we need to do. Now, the crazy theory. You guys ready for the crazy theory? OC, get on your tinfoil hat, sir. This is going to be the crazy theory. Get it on. Get it on. What if, because we never broke previous highs, right? Until this cycle. But why did we break this previous cycle high during this pullback here? Why did that happen? Well, that would be all because of FTX. If you take the FTX dump that pushed the price down with massive selling pressure, and we move this fib up to the level of the previous high, get it up there right before we dumped. That would be right there. That was the dump that we had. Look at where the resistance is actually at. We haven't actually broke that 786. That is always a resistance point to get that prove up to the next level. If it's just kind of interesting. I know the bottom is here, but if you push this to the level that it was before the FTX shakeout, guys, that's putting us under the 786 for this lineup here. And it's just pretty interesting to see that. But yeah, that 200-day exponential moving average is absolute, or simple moving average, I should say, is what we need to get above for me to turn bullish. If we do that and we find support on it and we retest and prove it as support, then that is going to be where I'm like heavily back in, and I'll start with Bitcoin to start with. And then as it goes up higher and looks like we're starting to get that flow over into the alts, then I will pick up the alts, because remember, 80% of your gains are made in the last 20% of the rally. And if this is still continuing on, we have plenty of time to get onto it. But until we get above that simple moving average, there's no reason for me to put the risk on the table like that. So that's all I got there. That's what I want to say. So, Blood, thoughts on that little interesting move point there when you tie that
fibs.
that previous
cycle. I
cycle
don't use fibs, even though my dog name is Fibonacci. All right.
I love it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I like that analysis. I just think that we got to see what happens, man. I just, again, going back just to sum it up, guys, pivot point is 58,200 for September. We're gonna, I think, if history is any, forecast on this, I think we're going to see a close below 58. So the higher we go, the more opportunity you might have for a short back below that point. So
I think it's 43K, 43 to 44K.
Wow.
Yeah. Here, let me show you why I think that. Let's isolate off my top chart here. And let's just go.
Yeah, for sure. I can
here's
see that.
why. Yeah, here's why I think it's that amount. If we go in here and we turn on my folder here that's got all my stuff in it, there we go. That is our point of control from right near the bottom is 42.6. And I've got this range here of the volume node here. There's really nothing here. You got one right here coming in at about 52,000, but there's nothing on this for volume until you get down. So you got basically big fair value gaps all the way down to about 45 on the high end, 40,800 on the low end. So I think that is where we will find our support, and how myself and several people in our community are doing it. We're set in longs right now, on some longs right now. I'm doing some hedge trades with the shorts against it to make the money and move it over there. But setting up longs, and we're just laddering in longs for that bounce and 2 to 3x, you're looking at 50% move to 33% move to the downside. As long as you got extra dry powder, you can set up a heavily laddered in entry for a long. And then once that slingshot gets all that energy and springs up, we're all setting some 2 to 3x longs for the whole run. So, Pi cycle
45,
indicator
though.
is actually technically invalidated unless you use the same FTX claim as manipulation for the second top. Exactly. And which did happen. They even talked about that in the court case, Crux. So shout out to him. TradeFly, let's go ahead and do a round robin on some charts real fast. We're going to be running just a minute over, but we'll let you get yours in, and then we'll have Blood. Take a look at what he's seeing there on his charts for his favorite alt right now.
Right on. Hey, I'm going to point out one thing. My low side for Bitcoin, just to kind of follow up with the analysis you just talked about, 2023 high, top side of the range, and the median of the channel, as well as the dynamic reactor. At that point, this is all on the weekly, would work its way up here. There's too much confluence. I think 45K is your low point if it were to pull back. That's my own 2 cents there. All right, Solana.
Perfect. That's the top line. That's the top line of my range. That's right in line. So.
Yeah, that's where I would be. You know what? I might even do it today. To be honest with you, I'll put probably a couple G on there and just let it sit. That's what I do when there's an area that has a lot of confluence that we think that a price could pull back to. I'll do a spot limit order and I'll just let it sit. And it is what it is. And then I'll probably put a stop loss underneath of that range that Piper was talking about. So, all right, let's look at Solana on the daily. All right, so we got that bounce. Yes, the soul train, but we have a lot of resistance on the top side. So, I think Blood said he's short on Solana right now. That would probably make sense to me, to be honest, because there's so much confluence on the top side. We just have too much to work through. It makes me feel very uncomfortable if I were to take a position on Solana right now. The key area that we were looking at was 128 to about 121. But as I was continuing to look at it, what I did, I kind of removed the 128 because I was seeing candle close. But when I removed it, what I did add was a fixed range volume profile. And when I added the fixed range volume profile, that seemed to line up actually a little bit better with where these candles were finding some support. So the value area low of the entire range that we've been sitting in since March, look at that. I mean, that's a nice little support area. It's only a few dollars lower, but I think that's a better area if price was to pull back. What else? You're now lining up with a trend line here. You got a wick here with a trend line. You got confluence here with the value area low. We're squeezing. So it's kind of a similar pattern that we're seeing with Bitcoin. We're seeing a squeeze right now. And, I would anticipate a breakout here soon. I do not know what happened to my oscillator here, but it is what it is. Just looking at price action right now, we just have too much resistance for me to take a long position on Solana. That's what I'll say. What I would like to see, and what I'll say to you guys is what I would be looking for personally is that we get over all this resistance, right? 144 is the point of control, very key area with the dynamic reactor overlaid with trend lines coming down and right. So let's get over top of this. Now you still have the 200 SMA, and this is the daily. So this is going to be a strong area. So don't be surprised if you see a nice move up with a rejection off of this area, ultimately coming back for that OC retest before we can actually get to continuation up and right. I do think the 200 SMA will provide initial resistance. But at that point, 162, man, I've been saying it, 162 for Solana high side target. It's too clear. It's way too clear. Look at this. Look at how nice all of this has been. You got a big breakdown, test, support, breakdown, and then ultimately it flirted with this area before it took off, came down, true retest, double top, boom, breakdown. I mean, 162 is just a very significant area. So one of the things you can look for too, if we break 162, I think it's game on for Solana. I think you're going to see this thing just rocket back up and start retesting that 200 day, or not the 200, but the $200 dollar area, because that is just one, psychological, two, but you come back and look left on the chart where we find resistance. So, I mean, that's kind of my line in the sand, 162 for Solana. Keep an eye on that. This is more of a zoomed out. This isn't anything scalping or intraday, just zooming out. I do think 162 is in play if we do get that move up and right for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market itself. I don't think Solana is diverging anymore. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Solana at one point was diverging. Has it held up better recently it has. And I pointed that out to you guys probably a couple of days ago. Solana has kept a horizontal level of support while some of these other cryptos, Ethereum specifically, has broken out of the range. Bitcoin has started to work its way down and right a little bit. You got that descending, broadening wedge on a bigger time frame. Solana has not. So it's a sleeping giant in my mind. It's just waiting. It's waiting for the rest of the market to say, hey, we're going to hold this area, consolidate, or we're going to start moving up and right. That opens the door for Solana to kind of make its move. So that's a couple targets for you to look at on Solana, and I will pass it on to the next guy.
Blood, what you got for us, bro? What are you watching on your charts right now? What is your biggest favorite trade you're eyeballing right now, bro?
I don't have a specific one because I algo trade, so I've got 9 pairs that I'm trading simultaneously.
He said everything's fair game in the blood streets.
Yeah, everything's fair game. So we've got I'm long 6. I'm long 5 out of 6 trades right now. But if I'm looking at, again, kind of a macro look, we got to really watch this area. This is the area of contention that we need to see a break above. And I mean, we're trying, but we just got denied. So this is on the 13-minute chart for the crypto total market cap. And it's a battle. It's a battle. So we just have to see. We should know something within the next 6 hours, whether or not we roll over or pop higher. So just from that sequence time frame, the next 6 hours are really critical for us. So just keep that in mind.
Awesome. OC, real quick, what you got? What you watching right now for this weekend? And let's throw it up on your charts.
Absolutely. I said that I was going to show you guys just proof of the retest that I was looking at, and also the target. As you can see, I'm looking at that point, I was looking just barely below 60. And at this point on Bitcoin, I am looking, come on, this thing needs to go away. I am looking at exactly 60 at this point, 60, 200, 60, 100. Something that I want to point out, it is, guys, if you are not following FD Watt and Piper on calling out some entry points, you guys are missing. Yes, there was a great session. The session before, they invite me into it, and I was looking at Litecoin. Remember that at the end of the class there, I gave you guys this risky entry, where I was telling you, well, your entry was in here as we had the flip of the ribbon, and then a possible retracement right back in here. So I'm going to be trying to, because we were breaking the range in here, I'm going to be trying to jump in as we were talking and just dividing my entry in 2 positions. Why? Because it was a risky entry and there was a real chance for it to roll over, right? It did not happen. It actually kept going up, and at this point, I'm at 63.93 on price action. I already have taken some profits in here, and I'm gonna be now aiming for the next high in here. Let me also point at this area for taking profits area right there. Take profits, and now I'm gonna be looking at the next area of resistance for my next taking profit. So hopefully you guys did enter on Litecoin. And Litecoin is moving fairly well. So other than that, turning it back to you guys.
Awesome. I think I got time for a real quick run here on Chainlink. I'll show you what I'm watching here, and then we'll wrap it up, guys. We'll talk about what we're expecting this weekend and get the hell out of class. Class is out of session, guys. It's Friday. We got to get out of here. Let's jump over here and let's go take a look here at what we're seeing here on Chainlink. We had a request from Arsan. Looking at this, guys, I'm seeing right now, we're heading back into my range box here. This range box is based off of this volume node back here. Very heavy volume node was all the price action back here. You can see it was previous support. When we bounced there, we fell through it rapidly hard. We pumped up through it really hard, and then we got rejected right here off the dynamic reactor from Chart Prime's indicator. Down to the downside we go, right? What I'm going to be watching here on this 12-hour chart right now, guys, coming back into this range is this volume node. I actually think that we're going to get a rejection here, and then I think it's going to come back down. And then at that point, look, might have created a nice little head and shoulders pattern here to the downside. So watching, the reason that I'm thinking that is we are getting up pretty high here. I do think that we could continue up to about 1125 because we do have the oscillator ribbon pointing up, money flow is coming up, and then the true 7 is coming up. However, when we look at the 4-hour to get that little look here and see how it's looking like. We are getting that downtrend arrow printing. We are starting to see that the true sevens high, and then that trend, the bull power bar is now wavering, saying that it's weakening right now. So watch for that level about $11.25 to be a rejection, and see if that finishes out that head and shoulders pattern. That's what I'm watching there on that, guys. All right, Blood, we made it through the whole show. We had a lot to go through today, economic data and everything else. This weekend, we're going up or are we going down this weekend? What's going to happen this weekend? You're muted, bro.
Sorry about that. I think that this weekend, I say that we will roll over. We've been on a pretty big run this week. If you look at, we go back to September 8th. Yeah, we've been on a run this whole week. So a reversion is probably in play for this weekend.
All right. Trade fly.
You know how much I hate this. Golly, man. This one's tough, dude, because I see what you're saying here. It's starting to level out. It's going horizontal. Rolling over makes sense looking at the prime oscillator, strictly on the 4-hour here. But damn, low volume. You know, you can get moves with low volume too on the weekend. And that's actually, I think we saw that last weekend on Friday. We pulled back, and then the rest of the weekend we moved up. Dang. This is tough, man, because the oscillator's telling me everything I don't want to see. So I would say if I'm looking just at the 4-hour, a move down is probably more likely. My conviction in the mid-term is still somewhere around 60K. So weekend down, ultimately 60K has got to be touched in a naughty spot.
OC, your call for the weekend.
Absolutely, my goal for the weekend, and I guarantee you guys that it's gonna be 100% sure. And I want to see your yeah. It's to the right.
It's gonna go to the
There
right.
There it is.
It's gonna go to the right. That's it. It's going to the right. I bet you. There we go. Now we can throw back real quick my chart. I'm gonna do my little analysis to wrap it up. I'm gonna keep it simple, and because we're bouncing from a loud order blocking here, I'm gonna say that makes sense. That makes sense to go back into the delta here, into this order block to get rejected. So I'm going to say up and ultimately down to this area. So finally, I think Sunday is going to be a dump day, but I think through Friday, we might see 1 week like this, just reaching up to grab some liquidity and then fall back down. So that's what I'm expecting throughout this weekend.
So you think pop up into Sunday, and then Sunday we're going to dump. And I actually, I'm in line with that. I think that we do get a little continuation rally, or at least a fight rally, maybe some wicking up above this resistance to grab liquidity. But I do think Sunday we start to pull back because of the uncertainty. Investors don't like uncertainty. They don't like unknowns. And right now there is almost a 50-50 decision point coming next Wednesday on the 18th, guys. And so I do think that starting Sunday, especially with Asian market open on Sunday evening, we're going to see the markets pull back to brace for the unknown until they get some clarity on what the Fed's going to do. So that's where I am at with all of that. I appreciate you all joining us today, Blood, especially you, man. The panel is always open with the red chair just for you. It's Friday the 13th, so it worked out great that we had Blood on here with us. Yeah, let me see. Can I do that still? I don't know if I can do that anymore. That thing hasn't worked for me in so long. It hates me now.
Man.
I don't know. Here, I can just do this. I got this one. Here, can I do this one? No, I can't.
Let your audio work. What makes you think you can do emojis, bro?
Right? It said, screw you, bro. No, but hey, Blood, we appreciate you coming on today, man.
I got to get you guys on. Yeah, I got to get you guys on. I'm doing trade shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So have to get you guys on.
So are we. What time are you doing yours? Maybe we need to shuffle.
No, about 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard, 1 or 2 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I'm doing mine at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. So yeah, maybe cool. we'll hop onto yours, and then you can come onto ours a few hours later, and we'll have you on Trade Academy. That's the show that OC was talking about. That sounds great. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, guys, TradeFly, OC, you got anything pertinent to put out to the people before we get out of here? It's Friday. Let's go.
Hey, as always, it's great mixing it up with everybody in the chat. Love seeing you guys here. It's a great way to start off my Friday going into the weekend. So I'll be looking forward to seeing all of you on the Crypto Nightcap Monday at 8:30 with FD White. We're doing that every Monday through Thursday, and it's going well. It's going well. So hope to see you guys over there as well. And Blood, yeah, man. Hopefully we can have you back on. Maybe I can come over to your show at some point,
Absolutely.
and that would be super, super cool. So thanks for coming on with us. Appreciate you. I'll pass it over to
You got
OC. He's going to tell you what happens if you hit that like button, and I know it's going to get interesting.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
guys. Just a little quick reminder that I, at this point, I like to poke myself. Remember last time I was showing you my little thing that I put in here while I knock it off while I was asleep. So I needed to poke myself once again. There you go. So at this point, I think I'd like to stop myself. So help me out in here. And a quick reminder that click that like button, because if you do, well, then the shakes from TradeFlight will no longer get to Army Piper's internet. So
Is that what it was?
yeah.
Oh, I got the residual impact from your earthquake. That explains
Yeah, the
everything.
aftershocks. That's what it is, man.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us here today on Piper Academy. Don't forget, Sunday we'll be back with Gen Wealth. It's going to be myself and my son on here talking about everything that you guys need to know about the economy coming up for the week and getting you ready for all of the FOMC stuff next week. Guys, check out all of Crypto Blood's links down below in the description. If you guys don't follow them, you're missing out. And then we'll be back here Monday morning, starting off with the pre-market with Good Morning Crypto, Lunar Beaches, and BC Port Corp. And then I'll be back at 9:30 a.m. with the market open next Monday right here on Piper Academy, the morning market report. Until then, guys, trade safe. And as always, use a stop loss.
I don't know what they keep telling me. I don't know what they keep telling me. Ain't no school like Piper Academy. Ain't no school like Piper Academy. We'll keep that front line covered, even when we're dead and gone. We'll find a way to keep going, cause we gon' keep on rolling up the wheels fall low. I know you hungry for knowledge, that's profit appetite. Classes in session, this for the Army Piper acolytes. Trade flag at the soul train ready. What a line from OCI, from a Mexican spaghetti. Yo, crunch crypto with a deep dive to project dime. And if you like the visual powered by Car Prime, then you were part of that alumni, that's all spine. But if you have step, fall back to offline. We'll keep that front line covered, even when we're dead and gone. We'll find a way to keep going, cause we gon' keep on rolling up the wheels fall low. Sound off.
To get rhythm, the ZTS rhythm. Rip it, Alexandra.
Yeah, that's my alumni, you know what I mean?
That was awesome, dude.